Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Unquestioned Podcast. Luigi, you're back. How are you, my
Did you
man?
go to prison? You're
Did I go to prison? Yes, this is the required haircut that you get in Alcatraz. No, I just needed a little summer haircut to be able to run even faster during my 100K.
there's always a performance angle.
Always a
Damn it.
performance angle. But the performance angle actually is true. I was kind of really having a heavy workload with many tasks that were on my task list, let's say, and I just said like, let me cut it all off so I don't have less worry about a haircut and
This man.
things.
This
Okay.
man.
But as well, I don't need to worry about looks and so on. Fuck that.
But
Focus
the
on
weekend was
output.
more leisurely, no?
Yes, so maybe to kick off the podcast quickly, I went to Paris, and quite to hear the listeners. The last time I was in Paris was when I was 18, so that is practically already like almost 10 years ago, and it's still a very different vibe when you go there as a student than as you go there. I went there together with my girlfriend, and it's a beautiful city. It's really like I really would see me living there. Okay, you have the bit of the pretentious French people.
Would you live there before, during, or after the startup? I know the answer, I think.
I think it's the last one you said. Correct, yeah. It's because they have the reason why it is the lifestyle that the French have is eat well as well, take long lunches. Okay, they work hard as well because
Eat
it's
on your
Paris.
wife.
Let's not the limited listeners we have. Let's not get rid of all the French ones. Maybe they're not listening because it's English anyway. But
Hi to the mistresses, yes.
so, but it's a beautiful lifestyle over there, and as well, I love the culture, and they together, like with the Italians, they've perfected the way of living. How other cultures say amen to that. But how was your weekend, Louis? Tell me, what did you?
I went to the other country, to Sorrento, by boat.
Italy.
By
By
boat
boat from Belgium.
from Napoli. Yeah, I would. Let's say everybody has to see the Neapolitan coast and take a boat trip. So if you haven't done that, do it solo or with a loved one. Because yeah, talking about perfecting the art of living, there's nothing better than being on your boat, having breakfast on one island, then for lunch, a different little boat picks you up and takes you to a restaurant you can only access from the water. Amazing seafood, and then maybe you have a little swim, and then yeah, just good times overall.
Yeah, it's funny.
Second
What else
time
do
I'm
you need
doing
in
this.
life?
Well, yeah, but it's more for the post startup, I would say, because you have less drive when you see how nice life is. But not to turn this into a quote fest, but there will be more quotes. The best things in life are free, but the second best things are insanely expensive, and it wasn't the cheapest trip, I have to say, to get a good boat and everything.
Okay, well, maybe it was a financial hangover, but at least it's memories for a lifetime.
That's right.
Well, to kick off the podcast, which topic we're going to talk about, I would love to talk a little bit about vibe coding. It's been now, AI has been a topic in this podcast very often, and it keeps evolving. We, and I think many people, keep being amazed in what models getting released, what these models are capable of in voice, in video, either literally in context in businesses, but also outside in leisure and entertainment. So the question is a little bit, I feel like you could start off with within Spotify or yourself. What is your feeling in vibe coding, or how coding has changed for you as a programmer,
Yes.
European tech companies?
Yes, a little bit about what hasn't changed. I've been doing more UI development, and somebody told me that UI development has always been a little bit vibe coding like. So even before AI, you would, well, code is always a little bit magic, but you would throw these magic incantations at the wall and then just run your app. Hopefully, you have some form of hot reloading or quick incremental builds, and see if your result is closer to what you're hoping for. And that's always been the case a little bit with UI, because you have these layers, and you combine them, and like a slight change might make the whole thing disappear or just not
So
work
you're really
correctly anymore.
talking about, for the listeners, designing,
Yeah,
coding
the
the design, or
visual, the purely visual part of your app, which is also built in code. So you have logic or business logic, which is when this customer from this country does this, I want this to happen. Like, let's say, take a delivery app. When the restaurant is done, then we should alert the driver and also update the app for the customer. That's all
all the
logic,
logic
and that
and
is
stuff that happen after you press buttons.
yes, yeah, and then the reactions to things, and those are really important and crucial, and there are written down in code. But then the what you see literally on the screen, what we call the user interface or UI for short, is whether the button is round or green or the animation or switching
No,
pages. Yeah, those things, they're also written in code. Sometimes it's a different kind of code. If you've ever done web development, you might recognize uh, CSS. That's how you typically style things. So yeah, it has a lot to do with style and fonts, for example. And so there, we've always kind of yeah, just done a lot of trial and error, iterating, repeating, trying again until we get closer and closer to. Hopefully, you have a design spec, some example that somebody gives you and says, "Hey, this is what how I want it to look," and that's always been a bit like vibe coding, and so it's also what is best to vibe code. You can generate a UI really quickly, really cheaply, but the hard part is structuring the data, the underlying data, and the logic correctly. That's actually hard in keeping track of that. So that for me was a bit of a realization that vibe coding doesn't really work well for like orchestrating and planning, and it works best for design.
yeah,
Do you agree?
I agree. And to add upon that, is nowadays tools you actually, once you are using a large language model to iterate over designs, you might end up with a whole unique view, because often what the designers, they look at examples and then they build this kind of similar thing, and now you just prompt it what you want and it might bring you a whole new kind of design which you wasn't thinking about,
Mm-hmm.
which causes a lot more originalities, which is funny to say, but a lot kind of quicker iterations and new ways of and faster ways of building UI. And I would say from the more back end side, or I want to maybe counter that, you feel like there with vibe coding it is less being used, or it's not ready yet. The models are not stable enough to start really writing logic, because with my startup I have been writing logic and the backend stuff as well. The only thing is like, yeah, it's sometimes very simple things which I know it will handle.
So the specifically the vibe aspect, the let me just let's say dictate, speak to my computer and get the AI to do as much as possible. The vibe aspect is best for UI, but it it is definitely tremendously helpful for logic as well, or backend. But backend is everything that is done on the server, and something something special about UI is actually the user might not really care how it looks, because you just said maybe it looks completely different, and maybe it does. Maybe you have a different kind of phone with a different theme, and your buttons are a different color. The user might not care, but the logic has to work. For example, if I'm under 18 or above 18 years old, I'm supposed to see this or I'm not supposed to see this. That's really important. Or my order should be delivered quickly and at the right address, please. Like, that's an example of data. And AI is very helpful for structuring as well, but, and I think you will agree, you have to very clearly phrase your requirements. So you almost have to be code-like and very precise, and well, like, thought out and planned, just in natural language when talking. So you're actually kind of solving the problem already. That's what I realized is, I was, for example, I was during our hack days at the company, I was trying to build a tool for myself to make my day-to-day work easier. I was trying to build a visualizer, so something that can inspect a part of the app for me,
Mm-hmm.
so I can more easily understand it. I can see it visually.
Visually, like the flow or something that is.
Yes, yes. Like let's say like a storyboard or
Mhm.
something. Well, generating the UI took 5 minutes literally with a Gemini Pro in this case. But then for me to find the right places in the app to create like some anchor points, some loggings for the UI to plug into, to hook into, so hard it took me hours, days even to find where I should connect the UI. And in the end, in order to build the visualizer, I had to understand the whole program, so I
So
didn't need the visualizer anymore. That was literally how my hack week went. I spent My goal was to build a tool to better understand the program, and by the end of the week, in order to structure the tool, I understood the program in the end. So that's my experience with using AI. It works really well if you kind of already solve the problem together with the AI.
Yeah. And to add upon that is like when I'm in Cursor, which is kind of a vibe coding editor environment, then it works really well within making quick little design changes, which you as a human would have to start searching where that exactly is. But if you describe it well, it can very easily find it. But if it's, for example, with logic, it was like adding an extra data field. Let's not go too technical, but it had to do some business logic on the back end, and it actually erased some other kind of.
Was this Claude by any chance?
It was Claude actually, yeah.
So Claude is a particular model from Anthropic. He's known to add stuff where you don't want it, to touch things
Yeah.
you don't want.
Well, that was the case actually, but I didn't know that. But I knew it because it happened to me, but I didn't know this model was known for it. But it erased a feature, and because it was changing in different files, so I was going over the files quite quickly. And it's like looks good. Deployed it, put it in the test, and the test it worked well when I tested it, and then put it live. And then the customer contacted me, "Hey, where is this button? This has been removed, and I've been using it."
So you did not inspect the before and after diff. You didn't check that you didn't see that it removed the file because there were so many changes and they got lost.
It got lost. I thought like things that it removed was right, but it removed as well some other things which I scrolled too quickly
Man,
over that shouldn't have been removed, and that's kind of a quite funny. But then I had to go back to that branch, which means in a previous version get that back and manually edit that functionality. And where does this story come in? Quite funny. I work as well for a low-code development platform where it's really kind of for enterprises and enterprise to build software with kind of building blocks, coding blocks that they can just like as a Lego blocks assemble their software with. And the reason why in the past that company is now valued almost over 1 billion, why that is so like a unicorn, but why was it so value in the past and currently I believe a bit less now? It is because they were able to build software a lot faster without having to write every single line of code. But which is fully true still today. But today, with this new technology that's possible, large language model that's write every single line of code for specifically for your project, it actually you are limited with low code because you only have a box of Lego blocks where you can build your software with. But actually, with this new technology, you can just speak to it and it will create these blocks or create your custom software for you. So it's actually now low code is a little bit of a limitation, but why is it still relevant today? It is because these big enterprises, if their software doesn't run well or not reliably, for example, with my startup, when its function goes doesn't work, my startup it's quickly fixed and doesn't matter. But in big enterprises, it can result in millions and millions in losses. So there, really,
yeah.
the software needs to be super reliable, and why low code is still relevant. But at a certain point, these large language models, they will be so good that they won't remove that button, and they will very securely make build new features that comply with all the regulation, with all the security, and will be so much more stable. So where low code, it's actually more dangerous that a human build software with low code blocks than let the large language model
Well,
build the software. In
yeah,
my
because my first thought was, how do we solve this today is with code review. So I cannot make a change without having it be approved by someone else first. That will see the additions in green and removals in red. So in your case, he would be able to, if he does his job and pays attention, he would at least like ask the question and say like, hey, I'm noticing this change. Wouldn't that result in like more destruction? Are you sure this was intentional? And my immediate thought was actually, well, then Claude Anthropic will sell us a second Claude, like another AI that will do the review. So sure.
And yeah, the only reason why today is then still relevant that I wanted to add on is kind of these connectors to kind of SAP, which is like an enterprise resource. Sorry, ERP, which is abbreviation for enterprise resource planning. I think so. So, and also CRM and all these other tools where you don't have to write the code and the connectors, the APIs yourself, and it's already built for you. So that is kind of to still accelerate your development. But I believe in, let's say, 3 to 5 years, you will just be able to say, connect this to my CRM and make all my customers that have, or my top 5% of my customers visualized in a nice leaderboard over here. And it will do it in a couple minutes. And it will just write the API to the backend and the nice front end. And you can vibe a little bit to fine tune it and it will be done. So yeah,
It
that's
will be
kind
flawless and safe in a way that it's not today. Yeah.
yeah. And on that topic, I maybe want to ask you, because what I now describe is very instantly creating apps. So you would be able to say that any person with no technical abilities, which a lot of the experts are saying, can create that app ID that they have just by a natural language building something, because they don't have to speak the language of a computer. They just need to speak their own language. What is your view on that? Do you feel like we're gonna have this era of massive apps creation, and or what is your opinion a little bit about this new direction?
The keyword is can. Everybody can and is enabled, but we might see an explosion in apps. Most of them will be garbage, worthless, because today everybody has the ability to write a blog post or start a podcast or upload a video to YouTube, create something, and they don't, either because they're not interested, or yeah, maybe they do and they don't have the reach, so they gave up, they're not passionate enough. And the same thing is true, I think, here for those apps. Like anybody can create one, yes, but I mean, why would I? It does take the excuse away. So, like all technology, it democratizes. It means if you really want to see your app out there and you're not technically skilled today, at least you can get started and you can learn at a way faster pace and do a lot more than you could before. So opportunity is there for more people. More people can do it, but that doesn't mean that it's gonna happen. Most people will still be consuming things, and probably be using the apps created by the giants that we know today.
I would agree with that statement, and it's a little bit about the usage of internet. Only 1% really creates content and creates things, and 99% consumes. And that might be, we'll see how it evolves, but it looks like it should be the same trend when it comes to creating applications and software. And the other thing I would say is like creating applications, it's what you said, it's going kind of people, there's a lot of hurdles, and the hurdles became easier to create something, but it's still pushing through really comes down to the obsession again. And I think that's like the obsession of solving this issue that you have, or this obsession in a certain problem that your family or anyone experiences, or your company, and you really want to solve it. Then you'll find the energy to go deeper, to better understand the problem on a deeper level that other people might.
Yes, and also the resistance is gone. The competition is also gone, because you're, strangely enough, now you're competing with the rest of the world. Why? Because now anyone can create an app. So just like creating a website used to be a lot harder than it is today, it was impressive for I don't know, random kid in town or a family store to have a website because it was hard. Now today it's going to be the same as like, yeah, okay, cool, but I can also do that. And so now I don't want to. So where before you could have some advantage even selling that service to people, like, hey, I know how to build apps, because there's there's a lot more you have to do and a lot more technical abilities and like server costs. And if that goes away, then it's not impressive anymore.
And one last thing I want to say, it's a lot of more excuses will be thrown in the bin of like, oh, but I cannot start because I need money for a programmer, for a website, for this and that. So a lot of investors and hopefully business mentors will call out
Or at least
bullshit.
show me something. At least like doesn't have to be your final vision, but you have no excuse not to have something to show for. Yeah, coming up with just the plan, the idea person will is kind of out of excuses.
Yeah, correct. That's the one quote that I think Sam Altman said is like, this is going to be the era of the ID person. I'm not sure if it's exactly quote, but it comes down to the ID person has now all the tools to create without needing the exact, let's say, years of expertise and technical knowledge to create his ID in the real world. So voila, I think that's quite nice to maybe to end with. Well, Louis, it was really lovely talking to you again. We need to get this thing again more and more off the ground, and hopefully we do one more in person, because now I'm you're in Ghent, so we need to do one in real life, then we have more energy even.
For sure.
Good. Louis, thanks again, and to all the listeners, this was again an episode of the Unquestioned Podcast. Hopefully you loved it, and we'll see you again in the Unquestioned Podcast. Bye-bye.